Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to give some feedback on Rofique's speaking test. So let's check it out. Good afternoon, my name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name is Rofique IELTS, but you can please tell me, you can call me Rofique.
So this part of the test isn't tested. This isn't even part of the test. The examiner just wants to know what they should call the candidate. But still, you know that they're going to ask you this. So prepare a nice, simple answer. My name is da 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 da. You can call me da 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 da. There shouldn't be any confusion here, but it doesn't matter. It's not part of the test. Just notice that it seems like Rofique is confused a little by the question. Listen here. Please tell me your full name.
My full name is Rofique IELTS, but you can please tell me, you can call me Rofique.
You know, you can please, you can tell me, you can call me Rofique. So, of course, I can't judge Rofique. I can't judge his speaking in this part of the test because it is not part of the test. But still, like anything in life, we want to make good first impressions. And so, you know, as an absolute minimum, go into the test with, my name is but you can call me Thank you, Rafiq. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Do you work or do you study?
I am currently studying at Arabic University. It is
Cool. I'm currently studying. Fine. Present continuous. Nice start.
located in Dhaka, so I'm a student.
And what do you study? Don't know if he said I'm student or I'm a student. Just something to think about. Articles.
Study Islamic studies.
So we need a subject here. What do you study? Study Islamic studies. Study Islamic studies. I study Islamic studies, or just Islamic studies. But we can't just start with a verb. Study Islamic studies.
The syllabus is about history and culture of Islam as a religion, as a social system.
So social is okay, but social is the more accepted pronunciation with a sh. Social. Social. I have heard some people using social. And interestingly, in the UK, it can be an identifier of class that with many words, the majority of people use the sh sound in some words, but sometimes some higher class people use the s sound. We see this in the word issue. So most people pronounce the word issue, but some of the higher class people say issue. It's a social problem. So perhaps Rafiq is just demonstrating that he's higher class aristocratic British, but social is the more common pronunciation. And do you enjoy studying at this university?
Yes, as an practicing Muslim, I always
Okay, an unpracticing Muslim, a practicing Muslim. An elephant, an apple, an orange, but a practicing Muslim.
wanted to
Just want to check. Did he say un or a? Let's just check again. Enjoy studying at this university?
yes, as an practicing Muslim,
Yeah, you definitely hear that un. Is it a big problem? No, it's very minor. It's okay.
I always
But it is something to note that now we've had, I think, 2 mistakes with article. I'm student and as unpracticing Muslim, just small errors.
wanted to learn about my religion and my people. I think it has an interesting connection between.
So there's not a huge, like, a very natural flow of speech. It doesn't really negatively affect me as a listener here, but it is noticeable that there is some reformulation. There's a few us, he starts, he stops, he goes back, he repairs his speech. Just listen again.
People. I think it has an
I think it has an
interesting connection between.
international interesting connection. So it takes him a while to get to the words that he wants to use. He starts one way, then he stops, then he goes back, and then he starts again. And this is something that we look for when we measure fluency.
My interest and this curriculum. So I
And
love.
what would you like to do when you finish university?
Uh, As my career goals and my career intention is very different because I
My career goals and my career intentions are very different, not is very different.
want to be a business person in future. As I have told you that I want to go to
Cool, business person, very nice language, good vocab, simple but relevant.
Switzerland for my business studies.
So this is just a tiny point for you, Rafiq. You said, like, as I told you, I want to go to Switzerland, but you told me that before we started the test. Just a thing for most candidates to think about. Anything you tell me in our little chat before the test, we shouldn't refer to that because we should assume that this is examiner and candidate speaking for the first time. But okay, that's not a problem.
I think I will be an entrepreneur in future.
Entrepreneur. So not entrepreneur, but entrepreneur. The stress on the last syllable. Entrepreneur. Duh, 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 duh. Not entrepreneur. Duh, 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 duh. But entrepreneur. Duh, 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 duh. Entrepreneur. Duh, 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 duh. Entrepreneur. Again, is it a big problem if you mispronounce a single word? No. Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to move on and talk about housework. Who does most of the housework in your home?
My mother is the main person in my house. She
My mother is the main person in my house. Maybe that's okay.
control everything in our house. So she's the main woman in our home.
The main women? So women is the plural form. Woman. The main woman. Women is plural. Woman is singular. I know they sound very, very similar, but I promise I hear this. And how often do you do housework?
I usually help her because it's a good habit to help our mothers and fathers.
Agree.
I usually help them in the morning when I am free. I usually help her for the cooking and the necessary work.
Not help her for the cooking, but help her with the cooking. So you help somebody with housework. I help her with the cooking, I help her with the laundry, I help her with the dusting, the vacuuming, and so on. And is there help somebody with something, not for? Any kind of housework that you really don't like doing?
Uh, Actually, I don't like to wash clothes. Even sometimes I feel bored when I wash my own clothes, but we had to. We have to.
Yeah, nice, fine developed answer. Basic cohesive device, just with but I don't like it, but I have to. Cool. Let's talk about music now. What kind of music do you listen to?
I am very interested in hip hop
I'm very interested in hip hop. So hip hop is interesting, but I am interested in hip hop. I'm very interested in hip hop. Those ing adjectives sometimes can be confusing.
because this genre is very connected to the
Cool, love the use of the word genre here. I think you pronounce it with a harder j, like genre, but genre is the accepted pronunciation. But very good vocab, very, very topic specific. Good stuff.
people. It raise people's voice in a
It raises, not it raise. Present simple, mistake with that S. I always think to myself that I understand that speaking performance isn't always the same as knowledge in your brain, but at the absolute minimum, candidates have to get present simple right. Have to get present simple right. About 60% of all L1 user speech is, or informal speech, is in present simple. This is why we spend so much time teaching students present simple. It's not because present simple is the simplest, because my goodness, present simple is not simple. Students have enormous problems acquiring present simple. Language learners have huge problems acquiring present simple, but we teach it at beginner, we teach it at elementary, we teach it at pre-intermediate, we review it at intermediate, because we use it so often. And so if you're a candidate taking IELTS and you have hopes for getting 6 or higher, you absolutely have to be solid and consistent with present simple. Yeah, but only one mistake with present simple, I think, so far. But we will see more, I think.
musical form or art form. I think hip hop interests me a lot.
Hip hop interests me a lot. That S, we are missing that third person S. I interest you. You interest me. Hip hop interests me. And have your tastes in music changed much in the last 5 or 10 years?
Not yet, because I'm not
Not yet. Not yet feels like I expect my music taste to change soon, but it hasn't happened yet. I would say not much, maybe, but maybe not yet. If he feels like it will happen soon, it's okay.
very expert in that area. I have
I didn't get that word. Let's listen to that again.
not yet, because I'm not very expert in that area.
Okay, I'm not very expert in that area. So I think he's looking for the word expert, but we don't use the word very with expert. Expert is a noun. I know it could sometimes be used as an adjective, but in most cases, expert is a noun, so we don't use very with nouns. I'm very teacher. I'm very expert. I'm not much of an expert in that area. I'm not much of an expert in that area. So not I'm not very expert, but I'm not much of an expert. Or I'm not a big expert if you're looking for something simple. So you think simple, I'm not a big expert in that area. Very natural, I'm not much of an expert in that area.
I have so many genres that I like, but from them, hip hop was my first choice from beginning to the now.
Yeah, my first choice, it sounds a little bit like he's saying my fast choice, but we want my first choice.
Many genres that I like, but from them, hip hop was my first choice from
Was my fast choice, first choice. So this, again, it's just a small phonetic problem. R versus I. First, sorry, not even I, but fur, like her, bird, first. Not R, car, far. First choice. But okay, I'm focusing, I think, on too many small details. But Rafiq did ask me to concentrate on a lot of details, so I'm trying to satisfy that request.
beginning to the now.
And how do you find new music to listen to?
Actually, my friend usually suggests me that is the new
My friend suggests me, but this isn't the right word of suggest. Suggest is like suggest doing something, let's do something together. Suggest could also be to hint at a possible thing. So, recommend. My friend advises me to listen to music. My friend recommends me new music. My friend, I don't know, shows me new music, sends me new music, but not suggests.
music. You should listen that, and it has that particular
I think we missed a preposition there. Let's listen.
usually suggest me that is the new music. You should listen that,
You should listen to, not you should listen that, but you should listen to, or you should listen to that.
and it has that particular background.
Cool. It has. We got that S this time, so it's not a repeating. Well, it might be a repeating mistake, but it's not constantly wrong.
Uh, the bass that music has uh, uh,
Music has. Again, we get that correct use of S. Good stuff.
has popular or something. My friends usually suggest.
But I'm just losing the idea. Let's just go back. How do you find new music to listen to?
Actually, my friend usually suggests me that is the new music. You should listen that, and it has that particular background. Uh, the bass that music has popular or something. My friends
It has that particular background. It's music that has popular. Coherence is a problem here. I don't understand the answer fully.
usually suggest me the music to
Yeah, suggest is the wrong word here.
use.
And do you use headphones when you listen to music?
Yes,
So there was a problem with Rafiq. He got a message on his phone, and when he got the message on his phone, I don't know what happened, but the audio cut out. But it's a useful thing to remember. If you are going to use your phone in these practice speaking tests, please just mute your microphone or please mute your messages and turn off your vibrate. Anything that can distract you from the test, just turn it off before the test. Please prepare for the test so that this doesn't happen. It's happened with so many candidates before. I know unexpected things can happen, but give yourself the best possible chance. Don't allow yourself to be distracted by messages and things like this. So his audio cuts out and then it comes back, and then later in the test, his audio breaks down a little bit again. But anyway, let's continue.
Because headphone in listening music, it has a good effect, but without headphone, we cannot understand the music and the vocal or the lyrics even.
Cool. So we get some good vocab. The vocal, but we usually use vocals in the plural, just like we use lyrics in the plural. So the vocals and the lyrics. So he uses lyrics in the plural. Vocal is a good word, topic specific, but again, he should use it in the plural, not the singular. And do you prefer live music or recorded music?
I prefer recorded music because in live music,
Not much of a paraphrase there. Do you prefer live music or recorded music? I prefer recorded music. It's a very acceptable way to answer. But remember, if we want to score 7 or a higher in vocabulary, we need to demonstrate effective use of paraphrase. One way of doing that is to paraphrase the language in the question. Another way of doing it, of course, is to, whenever you explain an idea, to kind of explain it in a simpler way or something like that. There are many different ways of paraphrasing, but I often tell candidates that one of the easiest ways to paraphrase or to show the examiner that you can paraphrase is not always to repeat the words that you get in the question, right? What type of music do you like? I like rock music. Or what type of music do you like? I'm a huge fan of rock music. So I'm a huge fan of rock music paraphrases that like.
we cannot listen properly. The lyrics and the sound effects are not very matched. I think
I don't know about sound effects. Sound effects are something you get in movies, not really in music. I mean, you could have sound effects on like guitar pedals, I guess, but I don't think they are called sound effects. Sound effects in movies or YouTube videos.
recorded musics give us a ready
Recorded musics, again, singular plural. Recorded music. Music is an uncountable noun. It's almost always singular. We don't use it in the plural.
product to listen with. Musics give us a ready product to
Recorded musics give us a ready product. I don't know if really ready product is the most natural term here.
listen with joy.
To listen to with joy. So after listen, it has a prepositional object, not a direct object. So we don't listen music, we listen to music. So you can listen music that you can listen to with joy, not music you can listen with joy. And I think with pleasure is better here. You don't listen to music with joy, you listen to music with pleasure. Okay, thank you. Now, in this next part of the test, okay, so comments on part 1. So I know I've been fairly critical. Most of the comments that I've made are about negative aspects, but let's focus on some positive aspects in this speaking part 1. So Rofique's length of his answers, absolutely fine. He develops. They're not too short. They're not too long. He stays on topic. Wonderful. His pronunciation is generally clear. There are some mispronunciations like entrepreneur versus entrepreneur, fast versus first, and a couple of other mispronunciations too. Not a huge problem. There are some grammatical problems where he has some repeated mistakes with present simple, but he does get it right at times too. So it's not a huge problem right now. Some issues with articles, some issues with singular and plural. Some of the vocab has been very, very topic specific. He misses some prepositions sometimes, like help somebody for something instead of help somebody with something, or listen music instead of listen to music. But he did use listen to music a couple of times correctly too. Did I mention pronunciation? Pronunciation is... oh, yeah, I did mention pronunciation. Fluency and coherence. There was one answer at least, or maybe a couple of answers where the coherence just broke down, especially that question about how you find new music. And with regards to fluency, it is noticeable how Rofique sometimes breaks down and has to reformulate. Things don't always come out in one nice flow of language. They often they come and and then he finds what he wants to say. So there's a breakdown, there's a reformulation, there's repair work, and it is noticeable, but it doesn't crush. It doesn't put a strain. I wouldn't say that it puts a big strain on the listener. Anyway, let's get to part two. So what does Rofique have to do in part two? So he needs to describe a time when he was late for something. Again, first thing to notice is this is talking about the past. You should say when it was, why you were late, how people reacted to you being late, and explain what happened. So all of this is in the past, which means that we can activate narrative tenses. I did, I was doing, I had done, I had been doing. Past simple, past continuous, past perfect, past perfect continuous. Also, we have the opportunity to use things like reported speech, told me that it was, or I knew that it, or I thought that it was going to happen, that future in the past, reported speech, sequence of tenses, all of that good grammar stuff, past modals, could have done, might have done, should have done, wish I hadn't done. A lot of scope to exploit grammar. But as I always mention on this channel, students never take that opportunity. But okay, fine. Fine. Let's see how he does. I'm particularly interested in his fluency and coherence here because in part one, he already had some problems answering simple questions, like with a nice flow of speech. So I'm curious to see how he manages in part two. Will we get a lot of breakdowns and reformulation and false starts? Let's see. Of preparation time start. So that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Well, in my country, people usually get late for various reasons.
Get late? I don't know about get late. There are some adjectives we can use with get. Get angry, get drunk, but I don't know about get late.
But I had that bad event with me in last
I had that bad event with me. Sounds strange. This happened to me, maybe.
year when I was preparing for my test exam
Cool, we get past continuous. When I was preparing, this happened, or this, I had this bad event with me, or this bad event happened to me when I was preparing. Past continuous. Nice.
for HSC exam. At that time, there
Don't know what this exam is, so a bit of a paraphrase or a bit of an explanation would be useful here. So keep in mind, whenever you use any reference to something which is unique in your culture, the examiner might not know what you mean, right? So I could say, oh yeah, I did well in my French GCSE, but most people outside of Britain don't know what a GCSE is. So I would say I did well in my French GCSE exam. And GCSEs, they are like these exams that all high school students in the UK take when they are at about the age of 16. So explaining what that exam is can be a good paraphrase and can show good like cultural awareness.
was some construction works happening in the road,
Construction work, not construction works. Road works, but construction work.
and that causes a lot of traffic jam.
That causes, but we're talking about the past, right? You're talking about the roadworks that stopped you from being on time, and so that caused, not causes.
In the middle of the city. And when I got out from my house, it took 2 hours to
Cool. So far his fluency is pretty good here. It took 2 hours. I like this. Took 2 hours to,
go to my school. That usually
maybe to get to my school is better than go to my school, but that's fine.
took 30 minutes or even some.
Okay.
And when I got out from my house, it took 2 hours to go to my school. That usually took 30 minutes or
Maybe which is better than that. It took 2 hours to get my school, which usually took 30 minutes. But I think there's a we should look at a more natural way of explaining it. So it took me 2 hours to get to school because of the traffic, and normally in the past it would only take, or it only used to take, or in general it took just 30 minutes. So maybe some extra words to explain could be useful, but okay.
even some take or give or take some minutes.
Love this give or take some minutes. Really, really natural. Very nice. Give or take. give or take some minutes. Very nice.
But I was late for my exam. Uh, it had a lot of embarrassment in my in,
It had a lot of so I was late for my exam. It had a lot of embarrassment. It sounds like it talks about exam here, so that is an ambiguous referent or an ambiguous reference term. Um, it was embarrassing, or I was embarrassed. That's more natural.
in me. But I requested
It had a lot of embarrassment in me. It's just not a natural way of saying it, but it is. Embarrassment is a very nice bit of vocab here to talk about how you're feeling, so that's good.
my teacher to give me an extra 30 minutes, but they
An extra 30 minutes, plural.
didn't because it was not in the rule. If I'm late, it is my own mistake. But
It's my own fault, maybe is natural.
they fortunately they gave me the entrance, and I took the exam, and the exam was not very good because I was late, and it strongly impacted in my performance at the
Strongly impacted my performance, not impacted in or impacted on, but it strongly impacted my performance. If we use impact as a noun, it had an impact on my performance. If we use impact as a verb, it impacted my performance. Although many people in the world now are using impacted on as a verb, but candidate here uses impacted in, so that is a mistake.
exam, and I was very frustrated. And people usually
Cool, nice vocab. I was very frustrated, very nice.
in our country, they feel so embarrassed when they got late for their exam or their daily work.
Where are we going here? So we're kind of moving off topic now. People in my country feel very embarrassed when they got late. But where are we going?
But our government and our authority should take step to reduce people's pain and their
But our government and our authorities should take steps to reduce people's pain. Seems like the candidate has reached the end of what he wants to speak about, hasn't timed his talk perfectly well, and now he's looking for other things to speak about. So it really is important, if you're a candidate taking IELTS, you should really do hundreds of these task twos. Just, you can do, it sounds like a lot to do 100 of them, but it's really not much. You can do 10 of them in an hour, probably. Just sitting, preparing, doing them. Yeah, you could do 10 in an hour, just so you get a feel of what 2 minutes sounds like, and also the technique, repeating and preparing, how to prepare for it and how to deliver the talk. 2 minutes should feel very, very natural, so that you don't have this problem where you're finishing early and then you start thinking, well, okay, now I'll talk about other things.
anger towards our traffic system and transportation system. I think it will decrease our pain or our frustration towards the system.
Okay, thank. And you can kind of see on the candidate's face here, maybe he thinks like, oh, was this really okay? But okay, it's towards the end of part two, and he was just filling an extra 10 seconds. I don't know how long it took in total, but I stopped him at that point. But I think it was close to the 2 minutes. All right, so fluency and coherence was okay. There were some noticeable pauses, but I think it was maybe even slightly better than it was in part one. Again, pronunciation is clear. I think intonation maybe just feels a little bit flat. We don't get a lot of emotion that comes through the pronunciation. Intonation is not massively robotic, but fairly robotic. So a little bit limited with intonation. Grammar, pretty much the same issues. Using present, like it causes a lot of problems instead of caused a lot of problems. But he did use past simple, and he did use past continuous. Cool, fine. Vocab strong-ish, give or take. Frustrated, embarrassment, all good language connected to the topic. I think vocab is probably the candidate's strongest part so far. But let's get into part three. Okay, thank you. So you've been talking about a time when you were late for something, Now I'd like to talk about being on time. How important is it in your? Yeah, so this is the point, unfortunately, where the candidate's audio just becomes really unclear, and I'm not sure why it happened. But again, I will say that it is the candidate's responsibility to make sure that their equipment works okay. It is frustrating sometimes, but I understand. I teach online, and sometimes I have problems with my internet, and my students always have problems with their audio. It can be frustrating, but okay, it doesn't matter. Let's continue. Culture to be on time.
It is very important in every culture, especially in our
That's not true. It's not very important in every culture to be on time, I think. I think there are certainly some cultures where it's okay to be late. I don't know if you have any Argentinian friends. Shots fired. Yeah, but okay.
culture. People, when people do not come in their specific time, people think they are not interesting in their meeting or
Not interested. So this seems like a systematic error now, where we get a few. I think this is the third case where the candidate has confused id adjectives and ing adjectives.
work. It is very important. It gives an if people get
Noticeable reformulation in this answer, where he's not sure where to take it, and so he's false starting, he's going back and repairing a lot.
late in their work, it hampers in their image. So I think it
It hampers in their image. Maybe it hampers their image, or it, I don't know, it makes them seem less reliable, or something like that. Hampers in their image just sounds a bit strange.
is very important.
And do you think people were more or less punctual in the past?
Uh, I couldn't understand. Can you please explain the question?
In the past, do you think people cared more about being on time or less? I hope my paraphrase was clear.
Uh, uh, in present time, I think people are very attentive about that.
Yeah, but we're not talking about present time. We're talking about in the past, were people more or less. So I don't. I'm not a big fan. I mean, you could tackle the question that way, but I always think tackle the questions in the most obvious way, right? The question is asking you, in the past, did people care more about being on time? Or in the past, were people more punctual? And so the reason why this question exists is because the test makers want to create a variety of present time, past time, future time questions. And so when candidates answer in the present, oh, in the present, in the past, did you like rock music? Oh, in the present, I da 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 da. It's like, well, it's not really tackling the question in the most direct way. So yeah, if the examiner asks you about the past, much simpler just to start talking about the past.
Time and their appearance because nowadays time is a valuable thing to
Nowadays, time is a valuable thing. Agree.
consider in work culture or any culture. I think being on
The audio is just breaking. I mean, I can still hear it. I can still make sense of it, but it does put a strain on me.
time and managing time properly is very important
I think managing time is a good collocation.
quality to have for
It's a good quality to have. Candidates' vocab is very strong, I must say.
any person.
And what advice would you give to a person who is always late?
I would suggest him to be punctual and be organized, and because whenever people is late, somehow
Whenever people is late, whenever people are late, again, I mentioned earlier, people have to learn present simple. Part of that means understanding how our verb to be works. I am late. You are late. He is late. She is late. It is late. We are late. They are late. People are late. Not people is late.
he is not organized well, so he had to be late. I think being organized or being prepared for any uncertain issues, it will increase their time managing quality.
So, what advice? It will increase their time managing. I don't know about that. To increase one's time managing quality, I don't know, will increase the quality of their time management, perhaps? Would you give to a person who wants to become more organized then? If a friend asked you, well, how can I become more organized? What would you say?
I would suggest them to keeping note.
So suggest somebody to do something isn't an accepted verb pattern in English. It is widely used by L2 users of English, so people who are not like native speakers, like suggest somebody to do something, advise somebody to do something, recommend somebody to do something, recommend doing something, advise doing something, even suggest doing something, but not suggest somebody to do something. So these things are called verb patterns, or some people put it in the category of gerunds and infinitives. Suggest somebody to do something.
Of their distraction, how they get distracted from organizing their
Cool, distraction, get distracted. Very good vocab again.
work, and maintaining the note, and maintaining the time scale, how and when they got distracted from being a organized person, and it will help them to point out the problems, and it will also surely
Will help them to point out the problems. I don't know about point out, but help them to recognize the problem, sure, but not to point out the problem. So again, there's an ambitious use of vocab where the candidate is trying to use less common lexes, but the success is, there's a variety of success. Sometimes he gets it right, sometimes it's just slightly off, and sometimes it's just very wrong. So point out is the wrong word here.
give them this solution.
And do you think technology can help us to make sure that we're on time more often?
Nowadays, it is very easy to be on time because technology helps us a lot with alarm.
Just a bit mechanical with the pronunciation. Nowadays, technology helps us to be on time. Just listen again. And do you think technology can help us to make sure that we're on time more often?
Nowadays, it is very easy to be on time.
Nowadays, it is very easy to be on time. More natural intonation is nowadays. I think it's very easy to be on time. So the chunking is a bit off, and the intonation is just a little mechanical there.
Because technology helps us a lot with alarm, with so many ways we can plan our whole day in Google, or we can plan our meetings in Zoom. It is very easy to be organized or be on time.
Again, a little bit mechanical. It is very easy to be. So in these like it is plus adjective infinitive constructions, it's nice to meet you, it's good to do it, it's easy to be on time. These are coming out very mechanically. It is very easy to be on time. At least it's very easy to be on time. Sentence stress is affected there.
Now it is in the past, I think.
And also, in what kind of jobs are time management skills important? I hate that question. I'm sorry about that question because, in pretty much all jobs, time management skills are important, right?
I think all of the jobs needs that quality.
All of the jobs needs. Jobs is plural, therefore jobs is they, therefore they need, not they needs. So again, another mistake with present simple.
But for an organizational person, or an CEO, or an managing director, he need to be more time.
Why he? Could be a she. And also, if you're going to use he needs. So if we don't know if a word is gender neutral, like a manager or a director or a boss or a teacher, those things could be both male or female. We often use they here. But if you are going to use he, then you have to remember that S. He needs.
Management. He need to be more
He needs.
time focused person, because he
Needs to be more time-focused person. Again, with these nouns, he needs to be more of a time-focused person. He needs to be more time-focused, adjective. But if you use that noun, time-focused person, we don't use more time-focused person. We can use more of a. More of a. he needs to be more of a time-focused person, or keep your language simple. Don't use this noun person, just use the comparative adjective. He needs to be more time-focused. That's fine, but not more time-focused person.
He is a leader of a team. If he is not very well, he is not very well about his time management.
If he's not very well about, if he's not very good at time management, or if he's not very good at managing his time.
His fellows will be very disappointed
His fellows? No, his colleagues, his co-workers.
about him, and they will also make that same mistake.
And go make that same mistake, natural collocation. To what extent do you agree that turning up late to social meetings is a form of rudeness?
I think it has a effect
Audio is fine now again. That's good.
on people thinking, because whenever a person is late on
Cool. I love this whenever a person is late. Really like that use of whenever.
particular event, that somehow displays that he's not interested in the event. It
Not interested. Again, fourth mistake now with id and ing adjectives.
is very rude to behave like that. I think it has an bad effect on our image.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test. Okay, so not a very difficult one to score. I think in general, candidate performed well, but of course, performed well doesn't really mean anything. Some people want a 9, some people only need a 5. So let's have a look at some scores here. All right, fluency and coherence. I think we can give this one a 6. Why? Well, let's give some notes. The length of your answers was very good. Not too long, not too short. Most of your answers matched the questions directly, although there were occasional lapses in coherence. Lapse is like a weakness, or if you fall down. So that one question earlier about just a couple of questions, difficult to follow exactly the idea. The one that I remember was that one in part 1, talking about recommendations for music, but okay. But that wasn't the only one. Pauses and false starts, or reformulations, should we say. Pauses and reformulations occur too regularly for a 7. So that's the real thing that's stopping you from getting the 7, is that just how often you have to reformulate, just how often you start speaking, you start giving an answer, you stop in the middle of a sentence, you come back and you start again. So can't award the 7 for that. Lexical resource, we are at 7. So that's good. So this is probably your strongest point. Vocab, your vocab, or you have enough vocab to deal with a variety of topics without too much effort. You use both simple and less common lexes, good stuff. However, there are noticeable cases where you choose the wrong word. You also sometimes get your prepositions wrong. We had this like recognize versus point out. We had like help somebody with something instead of help somebody, or help somebody for something instead of help somebody with something. So a few things with prepositions there. Next one, grammatical range and accuracy. I think I think there is enough for a 6 there, isn't there? Yeah, I think I can award the 6. So let's start with, so your range of grammar structures is okay, but you could try to extend this a little. Now, I don't know how much grammar the candidate knows, if they know things like reported speech or conditionals or cleft sentences or inversion or a variety of future time constructions or a variety of ways to talk about present habits or a variety of grammatical structures to talk about the past. I don't know how much the candidate uses, but certainly there are, if you just look through an upper intermediate book or an advanced book, just looking at the contents page and seeing what grammar they have there, there's not much grammar that is taught at B2 or C1 in the candidate speech. Most of the stuff is taught at B1 from the candidate speech. But okay, there are just too many mistakes with basic grammar. I mean, you could maybe even get a 5 for grammatical range and accuracy. I'm not sure. Between a 5 and a 6, but I think there's just enough for a 6, enough positive features. Too many mistakes with basic grammar. What do I mean here? Present simple, verb to be, third person s. That's the stuff that's really, really bringing you down. Singular and plural. Yeah, and I think I can leave that there. Pronunciation. Again, this one is quite easy to award a 6 for. Yeah, grammatical range and accuracy, I'm satisfied with a 6. I'm not going to think about it more. I'm satisfied with a 6. So, most importantly, your speech is clear and generally easy to understand. Cool. That's the first foundational thing. Great. Wonderful. Your intonation is sometimes a little robotic, and you tend to pronounce and at times you pronounce each word separately instead of connecting your speech. Fine. You mispronunciations of individual words are fairly common and noticeable, but generally don't impede understanding. So it means that when you speak, I think, oh, that's a mispronunciation. Oh, that's a mispronunciation. Oh, that's a mispronunciation. But I know exactly what you're trying to say. So those mispronunciations don't lead to confusion. If I'm looking for areas to work on, I think the key one that brings you closer maybe... Oh, sorry. First of all, I should put the overall score. So let's put that down here. So overall, pretty easy to award this candidate a 6.0. So we get 6, 7, 6, 6. So 6.0, upper intermediate. I think that's fair. Areas of improvement. The first critical thing is you have to control your basic grammar. That's present simple, verb to be, singular and plural. Just have to get that right. Every IELTS candidate just has to get that stuff right. Secondly, do a little work with id and ing adjectives, because I noticed there were, I think, 4 mistakes with frustrated, frustrating, interested, interesting, embarrassed, embarrassing. It seems like the candidate doesn't know this rule, and this is a very simple bit of grammar that now he can go and study. It's really not a very difficult rule. And then finally, yeah, third point. Yeah, be mindful. I know it's tough. Be mindful of your reformulations. Very often, this can happen when a candidate tries to use complex ideas. They try to come up with very sophisticated or complicated ideas. Maybe in their own language, they're thinking about like the perfect answer, exactly what they think. And sometimes it can be easier to simplify your ideas. Just think, what would 9 out of 10 people say? When they're asked the question, like, do you think being rude is do you think being late is a form of rudeness? What would 9 out of 10 people say. 9 out of 10 people would say yes, and 9 out of 10 people would say, yeah, I think it is very rude because time is very important. And when people are late, it shows that they don't respect your time, right? It's a very simple answer. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes simplifying our ideas can improve our fluency because we're not fighting against our brain to express the complicated, sophisticated ideas we have in our minds. But okay, we're at 50 minutes. Fairly long video. Congratulations if you made it to the end. Overall, 6.0. Strong performance in the middle of B2. Probably put the candidate ceiling at 7.0 maybe. I expect the candidate to get 6.0 or maybe 6.5 in the real test. Will they get 7? It's possible, but I'd give them probably 15%, 20% chance of getting the 7 if they have a very, very good day. But we'll see. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed that feedback video. If you made it to the end, congratulations. If you would like your own IELTS practice speaking test with feedback, or if you would like a writing check, then you have to do this through my Telegram channel. The link for my Telegram channel is below. But also, if you'd like to contact me for any other reason, my Gmail and Facebook and Twitter information is given below. But remember, if you want to apply for a speaking test, if you want to apply for a writing check, this must be done now through my Telegram channel. But I'll leave it there. Have a wonderful day and see you all again soon. Bye-bye.